Hi, Matt, the etrailer. If you plan on carrying a lot of different trailers behind you with a lot of different types of loads, and you want to carry them a little bit more efficiently, or you just want to be safer when you are hauling, then the Weigh Safe Aero Hitch Ball Mounts are going to be a great option for you. So let's check it out. This series of ball mount are all going to work the same. The really only difference between any of these ball mounts is just going to be the different rise and drops between them. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Really what we're going to be focusing on today is going to be some of the main features that set this one apart from other ball mounts around and it in use. Then we'll talk about those specs and materials, and then finally I'll give you my final thoughts on them. The first big thing I really want to showcase is going to be that scale, because that's what really separates it from other ball mounts. And this is actually going to be built into the ball mount itself here. And right now we're going to have this travel trailer to really showcase how this is going to work. And I think this is a great type of trailer to really showcase this on, since you're probably going to be outfitting this in different ways with other accessories or just items within your trailer that are probably going to be constantly moving. And this is just going to help you monitor it a little bit more. But let's actually showcase how it's going to work. I'm lowering my jack down now, and pretty soon you're going to be able to see that gauge working, how it's going to be shifting, showing us what the total weight is. And that's showing us our tongue weight. Your tongue weight is going to be 10% of what your max towing capacity is. You just need to make sure that your vehicle, your hitch, and this ball mount is capable of carrying that weight that we have. If I look right here, I can tell that I'm sitting at a little bit below 500 pounds. So we're looking pretty good in that respect. Another important thing to note is you're on level ground, because if this isn't on level ground, it could give you an inaccurate reading. Now that we're disconnected, we can take a closer look at the scale too. So something I want to show is we do have this 1500 marker on here as what looks like the max capacity. After that, we're going to have this red section. That's going to be a section you don't want to be in, and really the max capacity for your tongue weight for this is going to be 1,250 pounds. So trying to stay within that realm is going to do you the best. The reason why it goes up to 1,500 pounds just kind of lets you know where you need to make some adjustments. Now, if you are in that red section, I would suggest either trying to maneuver a lot of things on your load, or in some cases, your load might just be too heavy for this ball mount. The next thing I want to point out is that we do have a locking pin just for the ball mount itself. Now, I don't see this a whole lot. A lot of them will just have regular pins with some safety clips on them, so this is nice that we have this extra security, especially since this ball mount is pretty unique. Now, the one downside I do find with this is if we look over here on the back side by the receiver, this pin that connects to your receiver does not have a lock core, so what I strongly recommend is just finding a locking pin, and we have plenty of them on our website. And lastly, what I also like about this ball mount is it's very adjustable and easy to use. And what I mean by that, a lot of adjustable ball mounts will have two pins that you can adjust this with, and sometimes that can be kind of tedious moving both those pins. But with this, we only have that one, and we don't have to deal with any of those safety clips that can be kind of difficult to remove sometimes. Now I can just quickly change that into a different position. Now when it comes to the ball, that's also really easy to use. This is going to be a clamshell style, so like that, it's off, and you can use your 2-inch ball. This will also adapt into that 2 5/16 inch ball. Now I will say the one downside to this is this won't be as sturdy as just a solid ball like the one we have underneath. So if you're only occasionally hauling with the 2 5/16 coupler, then this is going to be perfect for your needs. Another adjustment point we're going to have with this is we can actually flip this 180 degrees. So I'm just going to remove this pinning clip and flip this over. Now I'm just going to take off that adapter so it doesn't fall off. And now we're going to have it in the rise position. You'll also notice we have two holes. You can choose either one of those if you want a different distance away from your vehicle. We'll actually get that measurement here in a second, but first I'm going to get it to the furthest hole. And now I can flip this around because you want this ball to face the opposite direction. And from here you can actually change the increments of your rises by 1 inch. So notice I have each one of these holes we have, each one of those holes are going to be 1 inch apart from one another. And if we measure from the pinhole, that secondary one that's furthest away, that is going to be sitting at 9 inches from the center of your ball. Now, if you put this into the second hole and go from the center of that hole, it's going to sit 8 inches away, to give you an idea of how far away this is going to sit from your vehicle. Now, something else to think about is going to be the rise and drop. And with it in this position, this will have a maximum rise of 7 inches and a maximum drop of 6 inches. But that's just the one we have on here. If we look down at our ground, you're going to notice I have 3 more, and these are going to be different variations of this. This is going to be the 4-inch drop version, the 6-inch drop, and then the 10-inch drop. They're all going to have the same weight capacity of 12,500 pounds, and if we take 10% of that, we'll get a tongue weight of 1,250 pounds. It's also important you just check what your vehicle and hitch is rated for and go from the lowest rated component so you don't damage anything. And looking at the construction of this is going to be made from a high strength steel, so it's going to be very durable, very strong, and it's going to have this black powder coat finish to it. Now you'll also notice when I kind of shook it there is a little bit of wiggle here, so there is a chance that this may be shaking or vibrating and maybe rubbing off some of that finish. But for how this is sitting here, there's not too much movement, so I'm not too worried about that. I'd be more worried about it in the receiver. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to invest in an anti-rattle device, but something else to think about is you're gonna have a lot of weight on top of this, so it's probably not gonna be moving that much. But if we move over to the ball itself, this is gonna be made from a stainless steel. I think it gives us a pretty nice finish. I kind of like this a little bit more than a chrome finish, honestly. Now just make sure if you are using this a lot to use some ball grease with this so it stays looking pretty. Now something else that's going to have a stainless steel finish is going to be these pins. You're going to have this one right here, and then we're going to have that one that goes into your receiver. This is also going to be the same style. And taking a closer look at that pin and lock, on either side you are going to have this kind of textured finish. That's going to let you get a little bit more grip when you're using this. Now another thing to check out is going to be that ball mount adapter too. So if I open this up, like I said, this will have that hinge in the center of it. That is really the only potential weak point of this. Everything else feels pretty sturdy. We're going to have this stainless steel construction. But the main thing that's going to separate this ball mount from other options out there is going to be that scale. We do have another one, and that's going to be the flash scale. Now there are a few things I don't like as much about that, and it is going to have an aluminum construction, which is still pretty sturdy. It's going to be a little bit more lightweight, but I think the steel that we have here is going to be a little bit more reliable. What I also like about this more is that we do have this scale, and the way it's designed is just a little bit easier to read too. And this one's going to be a little bit more affordable as well. Now, if we were just going to compare this to other adjustable ball mounts, the one I would compare it to is going to be the Kurt. That one's going to be at a very similar price range, and what I like about that is you can actually flip that around to either use your 2-inch or your 2 5/16 inch ball, and I find that just a little bit more reliable and more strong because, like I said earlier, this clamshell is going to be just a little bit more brittle when it comes to that hitch, or not going to be as reliable as something else that's going to be solid. But if you're not really using your 2 5/16 ball that often, then I think this is going to be the better option for you. But that's just a look at the Weigh Safe Aero Hitch Ball Mount series. I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.